This time on Bone and Revivals, I have more 10-bolt, 7.5 ring geared GM rear ends than I know what to do with. But you quickly figure out what to do with them. You find the one that has the POSI and you put it in the car. And that's just what we're gonna do. Hi, I'm Robert and you're watching Boneyard Revivals. I know. So here's a game plan. You're gonna go in there.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna pull you with that. And then.
Okay.
Do you have insurance?
No.
Okay. That's not good because you might rear end me. But that's what the tire's there for. Ah, Peg. Why'd you do that?
I did it!
You rear-ended me. Oh my god, that's bad. It's okay. So now it's hooked in the bumper, which is not good. So I gotta get that.
It's like you're now.
Yeah, right into the tree because I can't turn. Alright, so we're getting ready to pluck this thing out. If you don't remember, this is our small block Chevy 350 from the square body. It's actually the original numbers matching block. We put it in the Cutlass for some mock-up work. Obviously the heads are on it and stuff, but there's literally no crank, no rods, no pistons in it. We threw a rod bearing out of it when it was originally in the square body. I think the rear main seal leaked, and I decided to bead on it one night, and she got a little low on oil, and you know the rest of what happens there. Metal on metal is not good, and you know. So we spun the rod pairing, but the game plan is with this in the future is to send it over Joe's, and it's going to get a full build. It should be, I think. Currently, right now, I'm thinking it's going to be a cast crank 383 stroker. With it going in a square body, I originally was aiming for like 500 horsepower. But with having the truck set up now, I've kind of realized that the best thing to do for it is actually build it for torque instead of horsepower. There's a lot of guys that I know that have like big jacked up trucks, and they put in what would be a really good like 400 or 500 horsepower small block in it, and you know it's on a 6 or 8 inch lift kit with like 35s, 37s, and bigger tires than that. What you need to remember is that when you put a big tire on, if we're talking to all the truck guys here, car guys, this actually kind of matters to you too. You have to think about your rear gearing that's in the truck and the size tire that you're putting on, because the bigger size tire is actually going to make what you would have as a low gear actually act more like a high gear. So there's 323s in that truck now. I don't think it's going to stay that way. Eventually I'd like to get like 373s in it, because my game plan is when I go to restore it, you're all laughing. Now there is plans in the works to eventually restore that truck, and I want this block to go back in the square body. So that's kind of why I'm thinking about building more of a torque-oriented engine build. I'm kind of thinking of a hydraulic roller cam. with like it's going to be aluminum headed, stuff like that. But getting back to the point that I was trying to make earlier, I decided to make more of a build. The build for this, I want it to be more torque oriented, because if this truck has, I think it's going to be either a 4 or 6 inch lift with either 33 12.5s or 35 12.5s when I build the truck. And if I put 35 12.5s on that truck and it has 373s, it'll probably actually act like the 323s that are in it now, because it's such a big tire. So with that being said, I think I wanted to make something that I'd rather this engine make, you know, 400 or 400, 425, 450 horsepower, but make like 500 foot-pounds of torque. It's hard to get that out of a small block because of the displacement. But with the right cam combination and stuff like that, which unfortunately means going probably with a little bit of a smaller cam than I'd like to, so it's going to lose the nasty sound that it has now a little bit. It shouldn't be too bad. I mean, it's 2.5 inch exhaust with Dynamax race bullets, so it's pretty loud now. But that's just a little background information on our block here. I feel like I always have to mention it, and the reason why I mention it in these videos is for all of our subscribers and whatnot that are watching now. When you go to see it later, when I reference back to it, you know that I'm talking about this guy. This is our, what did we call this? The Rodnock 350. That's what we called it. Sorry, there's too many engines rolling around in my head. But yeah, so we're going to yank our Rodnock 350 and our Turbo 350 transmission. If you forgot that we actually had that Turbo 350 in this, that's why this car's in here. We're pulling the Turbo 350 out. I have a motor build in the works, and that Turbo 350 is going to go behind it. Hopefully it's good. It's been out of a car for like 20 years, so some of the seals might be dried up and it might leak fluid, so the trans might have to come back out of the car, but I'd rather put it in the car and see if it actually works and then yank it out, because it's really easy on a two-wheel drive vehicle, or a rear-wheel drive vehicle in this case. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to stuff it in there behind whatever motor I decide to put in the black car. And we're going to do a few other things too. So initially when I bought this car, supposedly when I bought it, and honestly people that I bought off of were super good people, but they told me that it was a 8.5 GM 10 bolt, 8.5 referring to the ring gear. It was supposed to be an 8.5 with 410s in the rear of the car, which was perfect. That's pretty much what I wanted for a street and strip car. The only problem is I crawled under there, and I'll grab the camera and show you. And it's kind of hard because some rear ends are different, but there's a very distinct way to determine the difference between a 7.5, which came in most of these cars, and an 8.5. Apparently this was an 8.5 out of a Buick Grand National, supposedly. But when I started actually looking at it, it turned out that wasn't the case. I'm pretty sure it's a 7.5 in this car, which really sucks because the 8.5s were so much stronger. But I also got to thinking too, is that the engine that's going to go in this car the first time it ever goes down the strip is going to be the Boneyard Stroker, we call it around here. Do you remember? Cast your mind back if you're, you know, a old original viewer, which if you are, fist bump. Heck yeah, guy. But for some of you that are new around here, just coming to the channel, I'll try to leave a link up here for you to remember. Go check it out. There was a Vortec 350 that we dragged out of a field, a 4-bolt main block. I think it was in like a Chevy 2500 or something like that. And so it was a Vortec headed 4-bolt main Vortec 350 block with 906 Vortec heads on it. Those 906 Vortec heads got taken off of it, sent over to Joe's. We did those Vortec heads up, and they're now on the budget build 350 that's currently in the square body. We did a whole build up on that. If you want to see the heads video, right here. If you want to see the actual engine build, right here. And so yeah, so basically I got that block. Initially what I was thinking about that block was that I was going to just machine it. The boards were really rusty, so I was thinking, okay, we'll just, you know, if we can get away with boring it, you know, 10, potentially 30 over. But yeah, so basically the game plan with that engine was to just throw it together, make it just a running engine, and have a decently running 350 that I can just kind of toss in whatever. But then it came to the idea of it's going to be a whole lot more money, and I don't want to spoil the build, but I've mentioned it, the motor, like a year ago, and like old videos, like some of the first videos that we ever put out on the channel. And basically what it comes down to is that I got brainstorming and I said, well, why don't I just spend a lot of money? And all I'm going to say is solid roller, 600 horsepower, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll let you figure out the rest and when we actually start piecing that engine together, because it's actually over at Joe's right now, and basically it needs to be line honed, finish honed, and I basically need to order up pistons, rings, and main bearings, and it can be a bottom end. I'm not gonna tell you any more of the little goodies that are going into it, but I'm just gonna tell you right now that engine is probably going to be the biggest horsepower engine on this channel to date, and even probably when that engine's done, it'll probably be the highest horsepower engine on the channel to date. So she's gonna like it. The only problem is, as you guys know, we're in the midst of doing bodywork and stuff, so I really need to get my button gear, track down all the parts, because if you're old to the channel, all the body parts on the Black Cutlass that we have are Black 85 Cutlass, because they're both 85 Cutlasses. All of the body parts, fenders, hood, grill, bumpers, glass, like front windshield, potentially rear windshield, doors, all that kind of stuff. I might have already said doors, but I'm going to say doors again anyway. All that stuff is actually supposed to go on this car, and basically that car was going to probably get sold off as a roller with the body. Basically what this car looks like now. But that car is too good to get rid of, so that's why we're doing everything we're doing now, because I changed my mind like I do 60,000 times. And yeah, so basically I need to track down a whole front clip and doors and bumpers for the car and the front windshield. I forgot about the front windshield thing. Dang it. Anywho's. Yeah, so we basically need to track down pieces to actually make this a good car. And I mentioned the rear end before because if this thing's a 7.5, I don't want it in this car if it's got a big 600 horsepower small block in it. So my game plan is to just say heck with everything that was originally planned with this car. I was going to basically go through the front end, the rear end, make sure it's all good, and then run the car exactly the way it sits. But now I'm thinking QA1, double adjustable coilover shocks, and actually do a whole drag racing kit from QA1, which is going to be, it's going to be expensive. And then I think I was going to go to either like Quick Performance or one of those guys and get a Ford 9-inch built for this and like just billet everything and just make it solid, because end goal for this car is to one day have a really nasty naturally aspirated big block in it, because it's got the roll cage. It probably won't run 10s with the small block unless I hit it with the tss, but I really don't want to hit it with the tss, because then you blow up stuff when you spend too much tss. So yeah, game plan is to get this car in the 10s one day with naturally aspirated big block Chevy power. So stay tuned for that. And like 10 years from now, when I finally actually have the money to build a big block and the car. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking now. Let's rip this engine and trans out, and let's get it ready for the car that we're actually planning on putting it in, because I've talked about this car way too much. Roll the time lapse. We had a accident. When I got this off my old man, he gave me a cut-off drive shaft to go into the slip yoke. I got caught on our cross member here, and dang it, that was good trans food. Look at it, it's brand new. Dang it. Oh, good thing I keep it in stock around here, because everything I own leaks trans fluid. All right. Transmission off to the side. trying to deal with the quadruple homicide here. And while we were here, I took a look, and it is indeed POSI. Actually end up pulling off the diff cover. I'll get you in here. So this would actually be a limited slip unit, and if you come up here, I don't know if you can see it or not, let me turn on the flashlight for you. Look in here on your pinion gear, you have your GM stamping. You see where it says the ratio 937? You take your 37, you divide it by your 9, and the 37 divided by 9 comes out to be 4.11 repeating. So what does that mean? This is indeed a limited slip slash POSI rear end with not 410 gears, but 411s, which is honestly kind of bitchin', not gonna lie. So basically the game plan is I don't know if we're gonna do it now, but eventually we're gonna drop this axle out from underneath this car, and it's going in the Black Cutlass, otherwise known as Black Betty, and she's gonna have 411 gears, and she is gonna be a POSI, and it is gonna do 2-wheel peels, and it is going to be glorious. But until then, we're pretty much done with the street and strip cutty, except for the 350 block, which we'll get to that in a second too. Alright, so we rolled the black car back up. We have the race car in the garage. Game plan, in case you couldn't tell, I figured we try to do a little bit further investigation on our transmission here. We're going to dump the fluid and see what that filter looks like. Because now that we know that this has 411 POSI in it, if we're dropping it out of this one to put it in this one, it'd be super slick to see if, you know, just for, you know, for the heck of it, see if the maybe we can fix this tranny so I'm not ripping the whole thing apart. And for now, the car's still movable because we don't have an engine figured out for this car yet. We obviously have the turbo 350 on Shop Dog Rex here, but we got our turbo 350 up there that's going in, but we still need to figure out the motor situation. So kind of figured that if we're gonna go through all that trouble, might as well at least try to see if this thing can get reversed back by dumping the fluid, looking at the filter, potentially maybe ordering a new filter up. If this thing's completely done, it just helps me not ensure that I don't spill more trans fluid on the ground when it goes to come out of the car. And then the 307's kind of mad at it too. So either way, it's gonna help us get to where we need to be. So let's slide under there, let's drop the trans pan, and see what we got going on. I'll be honest with y'all, that's bad. I don't know if you could see all that. That's not good. There's it's bad. Oh man. Oh boy. Yeah, that's not good. That's very not good. There is so much chunkage in here that is kind of overwhelming. Man, look at all that around the magnet. It's just mush. It's literally... Oh, can I pull the magnet? Does the magnet come out? Yeah, it does. Look at this. Look at that. That's so bad. Yeah. Smells like reverse clutch material. Poor girl. Alright, well, there's that, I guess. I don't know what to say now. Oh, trying to take a freaking scraper and scrape some of this out. Get the magnet out. Oh god, that is so bad. Oh. This stuff, it literally looks like freaking grease. Like, what on earth was put in this thing? I literally, look at this. What is that? What is that? Oh. Alright, well, I guess I'll rinse it out a bunch now and try to get it clean. I don't have a spare filter, so I'm going to spray that out with brake clean and then try to take a little bit of compressed air and not too badly through the, like, not full-blown hold it wide open against filter, but try to blow through some of the filter. And I think we're going to try putting it back together and seeing if it works. I'm unfortunately going to have to RTV this pan gasket, or basically make my own pan gasket is what I meant to say, which is not what I want to do. I'd much rather actually put a pan gasket back on, but if it doesn't work, it is what it is. Alright, so we cleaned up our pan, and I even took the time to clean up our magnet as well. Now, I don't recommend doing it this way. Alright, this isn't the right way, but because I don't have another gasket on hand, we're going to RTV it. Now, I don't like it, but I'm going to try to keep it away from the inside of the pan, so if any were to drop in, it wouldn't run through the trans. The trans is most likely junk anyway, so what's the worst case scenario? It does, and it kills it off the rest of the way. Like, whatever. It's not the right way. I understand that. So that one dude, I think I see him in the back over there, did he just throw his keyboard across the room? Oof, dude, calm down. Chill. Alright? It's just a little bit of RTV. Not gonna hurt nothing. It's just gonna make sure that the pan seals. Because, honestly, the likelihood of this trans actually being in this car for much longer is slim to none. And honestly, this is just my last ditch effort to see if we can get gears back in this. So, like I said, sprayed all this out. I took the time to spray out the bottom side of everything that was up in the trans. Within clearing everything out, I hope we get lucky and it just kind of works. So I'm going to, once again, shut my mouth, slide under there, put on the RTV, slap the pan back on her, and then I guess we're going to let it set up. Another note I wanted to make about a transmission here is that it's not actually a 204R like I thought it was. It's actually a TH200. What really kind of indicated to me that it was a, originally I thought it was a 204R. A lot of it was this guy right here, but that's, usually that's used for your kickdown and whatnot. Once again, basically pretty much confirmed it for me, was the pan design here. Now, the pan design looks a lot like a turbo 350, but it's not. Basically, the way that you tell it from not being a turbo 350 is you actually count the pan bolts. There's 11 pan bolts in this one, so it makes it a turbo 200, which these were pretty much they're pretty much relevant to a 350, but they weren't really anything fantastic. So yeah, there's that little tidbit for you. gave it a shot. As you saw on the jack stands, it really didn't want to go into reverse there. It did, so I kind of got a little hopeful, maybe that thinking that we brought it back, but set her on the ground, took her for a spin. I actually set it on the ground, put it in reverse was the first thing I did, and nothing there. Took it down the road. All the forward gears seemed to be coming back. They were slipping before. But yeah, the trans is done, so heck with it. Now it's just gonna flop out, like I said the first 6 times. Oh, what is it hung up on? Is it still hung up on that? That's so fucking... So when it finally decides to kick, don't come back and kill me. Oh, that bolt's not out all the way. Are you kidding me? Oh, it's really something silly. Oh. Oh. I'm trying to gently get this on the floor. Huh? Put a pillow down. Perfect. So one of the things I wanted to go over here for you quick was how to identify a 7.5 to an 8.5, at least the tricks that I know. One of the big ones is the side, like how the actual pumpkin or diff, where the diff cover goes, looks. And then also, if you look down at the bottom here, you see how these are like fang type, how they're very sharp. This usually indicates that it's a 7.5. Usually the 8.5s will actually come out flat and then come across. The only thing that I can say here is it looks like this was indefinitely machined, not cut out. But yeah, usually if I put my finger there, all that material that's gone there, there would usually be casted there, and it would come down. Instead of being fanged like this, it would actually come out and be a 90 and come across. That's usually how you tell the difference between a 7.5 and an 8.5, at least from all the research that I've done. So with these being fang-like, it would suggest that this should be a 7.5. Between that and the shape of the diff cover or the pumpkin per se, that would also identify it too. I will throw up photos of where I got this research from to kind of show you guys what it looks like. So if you have something at home that looks like this, you can determine what it is based upon you know, the identification ways to, well, yeah, you know, the ways to identify it. Oh, all right, let's drop this out now that I remembered to get the shock out of the way. Oh yeah. Oh, it's all just falling into place now.
told them that the baby's head wasn't attached.
So she didn't realize there was a... I don't ask questions anymore.
Well, they had, like, every day. Like...
Well, yeah, obviously.
So, like, the mom knew that it died. But, yeah, the hospital didn't tell you that their baby was decapitated.
Nice. Okay. That side's free. Oh, yeah. Oh, the whole thing's just gonna do its magical work. And I still didn't get the rear end of the car high enough, did I? Nope. No, I did not. Oh, this is gonna be interesting, but we will figure it out. I gotta do something about that. Or two. Well, she's just gonna be cutting it off. All right. Beautiful. All right, it's officially dark now, so I'm getting ready to clean stuff up here for the night. But here's the rear out of the race car with our 411 POSI traction. And here's the rear that was originally out of Black Betty here. I did want to show you guys something interesting that I found. So I found out two things. First thing in this video that we found out is that transmission is actually, I'm pretty sure it's a turbo 350. It's not a 204R like I initially thought it was. Just by the design of the pan and the fact that when I looked at the gear selector when I was in there, that it didn't have enough gears to actually have an overdrive. So it was only a 3-speed forward gear transmission. But we did confirm something about our rear end, and I'm going to show you right here, right now. So if I can get these to focus, really, really hard to see here, but it's got some numbers right here. That's a 22 and that is a 47. So if you pull out your calculator here and you do 47 divided by the 22, yeah, you see what that number comes out to be? Go ahead, do the math, do it. Pull out your calculator, pause the video if you got to, if you're watching on your mobile device. Go ahead, do the math. 47 divided by 22, what is it? If you came up with something on the lines of 2.136 and then a bunch of other numbers, you, my friend, are correct. This is indeed the original rear end out of this car, and it's got 214 gears in it. And it's sad and it's depressing. And in case if you're also wondering, yep, that's an open diff, boys and ladies. Didn't want to leave you out there. But yeah, everything about that is sad and depressing, and it needs to go away. And when I say go away, go in that so I can still move that around, but no good. It all needs to just disappear. Another thing I wanted to mention too here while we're here, in case you're deciding to do this at home or you feel a little disencouraged, it's really not that hard. Basically, the way that your axle hangs in here is you have your two upper control arm mounts and then your two lower ones that go on the lower part of the axle, your shocks, and then as far as your springs go, they literally just get compressed between the axle and that bushing there and just kind of slide in. So basically that you have your rear brake line that you need to disconnect when you go to pull it, and then also your brake cable, which I don't have vehicles that even have functional brake cables, so that's why it's not that big of a deal for me. But yeah, as far as it goes with these axles, your two front ones just tie in here, and then your lower ones, your lower control arms, again, bolt in here, and there's just a bolt and a nut. Again, another bolt and nut, and bolt and nut. And that's what controls, you know, side to side, up and down motion, stuff like that. Your springs sit here, and then your brake line ties in up here, and bolt right here, actually. And then your shocks tie in right back here. So it's really not that hard to get them out, honestly. Honestly, the hardest thing is getting them back in, because you have to line everything up and get it up in the car. But besides that, it's not too bad. All right, so we're gonna let her down for the first time. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little freaked out, just because we don't know nothing about this rear end. I kind of double checked everything and went over everything and whatnot, and it looked good. And man, does this car sit lower now? No, I might have always sat that low. Seems lower. How's the shocks? So the combination here, I kept the gas shocks that were in the original axle with this car because it seems like that they're upgraded. But I did use the springs that was with our 411 axle out of the race car. Well, we don't have a good trans, but let's just say heck it and go dispense some freedom, eh? Well, there you have it. We swapped out our 7.5 with 214 gears for a 7.5 with 411 limited slip. And she does burnouts. Good. The sad thing is, though, is if some of you caught it or not, there's still one single issue. Still only one tire. Hey. So it's a few weeks later, we're here with Black Betty, and I realized something. It is straight up simply messed up to go through all this work and promise you 411 POSI burnouts and not give that to you to end off this video. So let's go back out and do another one. Rear end works. Now it's time for the motor and trans to see you later. So with that being said, stay tuned, because the next time you see this car, I got a feeling we're going to be plucking some stuff out of it. Get ready to drop some new stuff in. Thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel already, because you get to see sick burnouts like that, and also you get to see us work on piles of junk like this all the time. And yeah, would love for you guys to come join the family around here if you're not already part of it. So thank you guys so much for watching. I won't catch you in the next video. Take care. Burnout fist bump. Yeah, cool. Burnouts.